and welcome to Logik Taks with Logik.io, where our VP of Marketing Blake Grubbs and our expert guests discuss how Logik.io augments CPQ, enables guided selling, and supports elevated B2B e-commerce experiences. Today, we're chatting with John Lehrkind, the Director of Salesforce Practice and a Solutions Engineer with our partner Pierce Washington, to discuss and demo how Logik supports configuration for complex products.
All right, welcome to another episode of Logik Taks. We have a special edition of Logik Taks today where we will have a multiple-part episode with John Lehrkind here from Pierce Washington, one of Logik's partners that we work closely with here. John is the Director of Solutions Engineering at Pierce Washington as part of their Salesforce practice. John spent the last 3 years over at Salesforce Revenue Cloud and Solutions Engineering roles. So we're really excited to have John on today to bring his expertise. How are you doing, John?
Doing great. I'm glad to be here, Blake. Thanks for inviting me. And it's exciting to see Logik kind of entering the ecosystem here. So glad to be here. Awesome.
Yeah. So like I said, we have a few parts of this conversation that we'll have today. In this session here, we'll launch into part one, where we're going to be discussing the challenges and the solutions that Logik offers when it comes to configurations for complex products, right? Particularly a challenge that we see in the manufacturing industry in particular, and a challenge that we've seen in the CPQ space in general in terms of how solutions are able to handle certain complex configurations, both from a sales rep experience as well as from a maintenance experience and admin experience. So John, I think we'll start off fairly broad here. From a sales rep standpoint, what are the areas that you see sales reps struggle with in CPQ traditionally?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not easy being a sales rep, right? So we've got a lot on our plate. And the most important thing that a sales rep's responsible for is selling. So if you're not selling, you're not generating revenue. And so when it comes to securing the customer with the right products, at the right pricing, at the right time, we can't let a tool or a system slow us down or stop reps in their tracks. So it's got to be simple, intuitive, highly performant, so that we don't impede that whole process. So really, when we're talking about this, a couple points really stand out to me specifically. Especially when it comes to kind of that complex products or even catalogs that have thousands or hundreds of thousands of parts in those catalogs. Within CPQ, especially when we are at these large scale manufacturers or even those high-tech companies with variations of different SKUs and products that they offer, reps struggle to find the right product at the right time. And so in these environments when 80% of these deals are won by the quote that's first in the door, it's really important that we evaluate this pain point of finding the right product at the right time for these companies and really streamline that in a guided selling motion or, really tailoring that to the specific product that's going to best fit that customer's needs.
Makes a lot of sense. And, I think we'll go into a demo here in a second, but you guys have been working with Logik for a little while now. You've been working with clients for Logik and working on their solution for some of the challenges that you just mentioned. At a high level, can you talk about how Logik fills some of those experience gaps when it comes to things like guided selling and some of the other solutions that you just mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, Logik really makes it easy, right? So when we're talking about guided selling or even product dependencies, selecting the right product that fits, the right product that we're trying to sell into that customer, Logik really streamlines and brings forward the recommendations and warnings and information that the sales rep really needs at their fingertips. So, overall, Logik really makes selling easy and more efficient through kind of that simple, error-free configuration process.
Awesome. Yeah. And so now I know Pierce Washington has built out an awesome demo of how Logik can solve for these aspects that you just mentioned. So why don't we hop right into that now, and you can take us through what Pierce Washington has built to show off some of these capabilities.
Perfect. Let's do it. So here we are inside Logik's configurator, where we're putting together a cash recycler ATM. What I have in front of me is options to select different models of the ATM, whether it's the 200H or the 200V. And what you can see on the right is the bill of materials is automatically updating for me as I start to make those selections. Different options may be offered based on what model I'm selecting. We might be getting warnings about the availability of each model, understanding when those can be purchased, when they can be delivered. And so I have all of the necessary information I need as a rep at my fingertips. Logik is also guiding me through this process. So as I start going through the hardware here, looking at different options I have for this ATM, the different interactions, the software, the security, I might make different selections that are going to update not only the products and pricing for me as a sales rep, but also the manufacturing items that go into building this ATM. Once I'm done with my hardware selections around that ATM, I can continue through the guided process of selecting software and making sure my fraud protection or additional software suites can be added on to this hardware installation. And continuing through that, I might also have services like maintenance or managed services, or even some field technicians that can come on site and actually implement or install this specific ATM. So we can see again how the configuration and guided selling within Logik really makes this easy for the sales rep by making sure that they have all the information at their fingertips, warnings, configuration options as they're going through this experience. This is how Logik makes it easy to sell and also deliver on products in your environment.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I think this was a great overview of how Logik can work and a great build out that Pierce Washington has done here. So thanks for sharing that with us, and we'll dive in more in part 2.